Hello, everyone. This will be, I think, a significant tape. It can be most meaningful in your affairs. There's a large worry in the United States and in the world about supply. And it's growing. The worry is growing. So, I would like to, with you, get to the bottom of it. To this problem. By getting to the bottom of something, we mean to understand it. We'll understand this matter of supply, and we'll resolve it right here for ourselves. We'll do it intellectually first, with words. Then, mentally, hate to use that word, since so many metaphysicians seem to think that the mental nature of things is not where it's at, but in any event, we'll resolve it mentally. And then, heart-wise, if we can get to the bottom and of supply and understand it, heart-wise, and when we've done all of this for ourselves, we can then put it into practice. A concept that can be put into practice. And when it's put into practice, we are soon to see confirmation of its rightness. Tangible confirmation of its rightness. Tangible results. Well then, having done all of this for ourselves, so that there is then no doubt remaining, we will have done it for the world. Now listen again. When we resolve a situation for ourselves, no doubt remaining, we have resolved it for our tangible world. And we have then only to sit back and await confirmation. And that confirmation comes as a tangible view of the world coming to perceive same truth. How is this so? Well, because our world is within awareness. It's not outside, separate, independent, capable of acting on its own. The world and all that's in it, the universe, including the Pleiades, all lie within awareness. This awareness that listens to these words. And authority lies here as the ineffable, which is being this awareness. The authority lies here to resolve the so-called sins of the world. Well, this may sound like a revolutionary thing I'm saying, but it isn't. Even metaphysical students, old-time practitioners, have taught that each must work out his own salvation for himself. And while this is true to an extent, it is only true to the extent that it is true for this one that is here as I, that is, to this very awareness that is you. It is not necessary for every person in the world to work out his own salvation. Humanity is, after all, our own appearing. It's my own appearing, and when I get that straight for myself, my view of my own appearing is changed in the direction of understanding. By analogy, if I am dreaming that there is a terrible distort going on in my dream that has everyone frightened, it is only necessary for one person in the dream to get things straight. The me-sense, who is the dream participating ego, and to the one to whom the whole dream belongs. That's the one who gets things straight. I have done with the dreamer, and the dream vanishes. Then, the dreamer gone, what was being dreamt about is seen through the eyes of non-dream. We see more clearly. All right, about supply. Every problem that humanity faces is a supply problem. The term supply is a word that is used over and over by metaphysicians and by philosophers, but it would be a much more understood word if we simply said need, the need that appears necessary, the needs of humanity. But in any event, using that term supply, every problem is a matter of supply. Not enough money, not enough job, not enough health, not enough companionship, or too much money, too much loneliness, too many pounds, too many demands, too many obligations, too many worries. In one way or another, every problem mankind faces or has ever faced comes down to the question of needs, of supply. Not enough or too much. Not enough or too much. Well, humanity understands that word need. He's always speaking of his needs and necessities. Necessities being needs that he can't do without. Jesus pointed out one of the secrets of supply in his admonition to take no thought what ye shall eat, to take no thought. He also said, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. He said, whatsoever things you need, your Father knoweth of them even before you ask. He said, take no thought. Then he asked the question, who by taking thought can add 1 inch to his stature? Well, the question arises, how does one go about taking no thought? How does one go about taking no thought? How is it possible to remain free of thought-taking concerning pressing obligations? Especially when it would seem that a lack of thought might be all it takes to overlook something, or to fail to do something that is necessary, maybe to run a business, or to make the proper investment here with inflation rampant, or with well, how does one go about taking no thought? I have a letter here somewhere, and that's what I'm looking for. It says, isn't it difficult to remain free of thought at a time like this? And the time like this that was described in the letter was an awful mess, with the prime interest rate so very high and the inability to buy a home and to find the money for it and so forth. The ability to take no thought lies, and listen please, listen gently. The ability to take no thought lies in one place only, in the acknowledgement of one's identity. Well, how so? How so? Well, listen again. Just as quickly as one acknowledges the fact of identity, that identity is awareness itself, awareness, life itself, and awareness only, then, and not until then, he finds it possible to stop the thinking, the planning, and the calculating done by the one who professes to own awareness. Awareness itself, awareness, life itself, is the identity of you and me. Well, so what? How does this allow us to go about not taking thought? Well, listen now, listen. Awareness is the action of mind. And this awareness, it listens to these words, is the action of the only mind there is. The divine mind, God mind. Remember now, we've identified as awareness the functioning, the action of mind, of God mind. Now mind and its awareness are one mind. Yet mind is more than awareness. Jesus said, when you see me, you've seen the Father, but the Father is greater than I. When you acknowledge awareness to be identity, you have acknowledged God, mind, for whom awareness is the activity, yet mind is greater than its activity. So, having acknowledged awareness to be identity, we can let mind be all there is to this identity we are. The alone one mind is already being perfectly. It is already functioning perfectly. Awareness that's listening, this awareness right here, is this functioning happening? Why the awareness listening to this? Is this perfect function going on? Therefore, there is no need for a pseudo-identity, an awareness that belongs to Bill or to Mary or to George or to somebody else, to enter the act and attempt and try like the devil to direct the divine consciousness, which is God. By the way, where would such an ego come from? Where would such a possessor come from, really? Why, it isn't possible. It doesn't exist. Really. It is an hypothetical devil that doesn't exist. So, why should we attempt to be this dream identity that wants mind to fill awareness with precisely what we, this fictitious identity, wants it to be filled with? Why should we try to be a second God to oneself, only to suffer the trials and the tribulations of judging the world, of I like this and I don't like that, and I want this and I don't want that? Perfection, a perfect mind, the divine mind, is already the fact. Therefore, there isn't a thing on the face of the earth that I, awareness I, must do about it, or understand about it, or practice, or demonstrate in order to make God more perfect, or even more perfectly understood. Because, you see, God understands God. Mind understands mind, and this awareness is that understanding going on. The belief that I, as an individual, must read this or that I, as a possessor of awareness, must practice this or that to understand more about God, is unadulterated hogwash. Those activities merely make the possessor of awareness, the pseudo-possessor of awareness, think he is more capable of understanding truth. Well, for myself, to the best of my ability, I am no longer playing the part of the possessor. I am not still acting the slave master of awareness. I am not making demands on mind. I am mind's activity itself. I am awareness itself. I, as awareness, am God's possession, God's activity for which God is responsible, and here I rest, and right here I make my stand. And you know, This isn't to be construed as an effort either, as waging a battle, or like girding up one's loins and putting on the armor of the Lord. Why, to be awareness is a simple rest from the ego thought-making and its incessant movement and endeavor and trying and struggling. To be awareness alone is to understand and then surrender the personality. Surrender or to give up, let go, separation, duality, and the sense of otherness. To give up the ego to truth, to the already truth. It is to let go the dream man, the old man, the ego who claims to have a mind of his own, that false identity, that devil. It is to let God be all there is to us, absolutely and completely. It is to rest in and as the ineffable, all in all. The functioning of mind, the activity of mind. And that's exactly what this awareness is. As I see it, there is no argument in awareness, no judgment, no contention. There's no looking back to see what it has accomplished or done to the dream of material living. There's just no effort involved. There is merely an acknowledgement, a continual acknowledgement of the primal presence, of the primal, ineffable Godhead being I, of Isness, or whatever you want to call it. Then, this acknowledgement made, Isness, or mind, doeth the works. The presence itself dispels the belief in another beside the one. Oh, there was a time when I tried so hard to put off the miserable mortal and its mind, its mortal mind that I identified myself as. I used to say, I don't want to see these things. I don't want to be the mind, the mortal mind that's aware of such atrocities going on in the world. I do not wish to be the beholder of the false picture, totally untrue, powerless, when I know that God is the only mind and so forth. I used to say the seeming was powerless long before I was sure it was. I tried to put off the old man. I tried to crush it, kill it, stampede it, bury it with the truth. Like Jacob of old, I wrestled and wrestled. And all the while, the identity I am, the awareness of mind was going right on being aware. All the while, I as awareness was who and what I as awareness was, and didn't have to do anything to be it at all. Nothing to be it. Well, what's all this got to do with supply and how to go about taking no thought? Well, be patient. Be patient. I'll get to that. This comes to be said. Awareness beholds the perfection of the moment. Well, what can awareness behold? It's the functioning of mind, and if mind is all, awareness is forever beholding the qualities and attributes of mind and nothing else. Awareness anticipates even greater glories to come. Awareness is, to use the biblical phrase, awareness is from glory to glory, because it is continuing self-knowledge. God's self-knowledge going on. No aspect of the self will remain hidden forever. Consequently, one can expect to understand more and more and more and more harmony and perfection from amazement to amazement. Now, One of the other things we know about supply, about casting bread upon the waters, it comes to me to say here that the real bread that's cast on the water is the bread that calls someone's attention to himself, to the genuine identity, to the honest identity. This is what casting bread on the water is. This is what this activity I'm engaged in this moment is. Telling myself of my honest and truthful identity. And you know, this is done not by accepting a world full of unregenerate and uncomprehending mortals who need to hear what I have to say. No way. But by steadfastly standing at the desireless and motiveless state of already perfect awareness. Awareness, God's awareness. Acknowledged. And then, if it should seem the happy thing to do, if it seems the natural or beneficial action, I say to what appear to me as others what seems to be the thing which lessen or appears to lessen their grip on a separate selfhood, an identity that doesn't exist. And actually these words are terribly incorrect, for it isn't their grip. They have no power to grip unless it is given them from my Father in heaven. There could be no dream at all but one's own dream of a world filled with humanity. An old Oriental summed this up very well once when he said, people are, after all, straw dogs. And he says, remember that the perceived do not perceive. Well, now, that leaves the onus right here as this awareness being I, being you, to set the world straight by understanding what's going on. Awareness perceives. The images within awareness do not perceive. The images within awareness do not understand. Awareness is understanding happening. Identified as awareness, we are that understanding going on. God's understanding going on. Once again, when one asks himself, what am I? He can answer, God's self-knowledge is this awareness I am. Who am I? Well, God is the only identity. God, truth, reality is being the all that is being this awareness I am. Mind is being this functioning awareness that is I. What is my responsibility? Awareness itself has no responsibility but to be itself, to be awareness. And each of us is self-evidently aware of being the being which God is. Well, what plans and calculations are necessary? That is, what about thought-taking? How necessary is it? No plans are necessary. No calculations are necessary for any reason, under any circumstances, at any time. Now, this doesn't mean that we don't plan and that we don't calculate and that we don't come to conclusions. But there is a great deal of difference between coming to a conclusion as awareness and coming to a conclusion as one who believes himself to be the possessor and owner of awareness. There's a tremendous difference between being awareness within which thoughts unfold, understood and recognized to be God's thoughts, and to be the possessor of awareness within which his own thoughts are unfolding, confused and miserable and misleading. There's a tremendous difference between these two. But as awareness, we have no responsibilities whatever. This does not mean that I am not aware of infinite, separate, and distinct ideas and things, which are qualities and attributes that mind or reality or the ineffable is being. Just as the sunlight is being all colors, even so reality, isness, the ineffable, is being all things within awareness. The trees, the mountains, the children playing, the Christmas trees, the water on the river. Is there any matter? Well, to quote a well-known statement of Mary Baker Eddy's, all is infinite mind and its infinite manifestation. Mind's manifestation would only be manifest to mind itself, because its infinity precludes another mind to behold it, yet infinite mind is self-evidently known to itself. To itself, that is, infinite mind is aware of being, aware of itself, aware of its own infinity. Infinite mind's self-knowledge appears to itself as an infinity of perfect qualities and attributes. The tangibility and definitiveness of infinite mind's own qualities and attributes is the universe, and it's perfect and harmonious in all ways. And it's that way already. The universe itself is the body of God, but you know, the tangible universe is not God itself. While infinite mind contains its own self-knowledge, that is, the things of the universe, this self-knowledge is within mind, as one might consider the letters of the alphabet as within the alphabet. It isn't possible for a single thing in the universe to exist outside mind. There is no matter in mind, therefore a thing, a tangible thing, is not material. If by material one means a thing in one place and mind, my mind, in another place. Really, by material, the one asking the question often means, is something really there? You know, is that tree really there? Yes, something is there. But there, the term there, is actually here as this awareness. I am. Well, does the thing out there have any value? None. None at all. The infinite mind itself is the value. Just like the gold illustration that we've used so often for nearly 30 years now indicates that gold is the value, while yellow is a powerless attribute of gold. Malleable, a powerless attribute of gold. Heavy, or whatever else, expensive, are all attributes of gold. But the authority lies with gold itself. No object of awareness, be it called gold, mother, Bible, book, tree, food, money, or Carter's little liver pills, has any value of its own. None at all, at all, at all. All that is by virtue of the fact that Isness is, reality is, the ineffable is, that God is, that mind is, that being is. Well, someone asks this point always, then where does the dream come in? Where does the belief and dream of material living begin? Good question. The dream enters when someone says, I am aware of being. That one, himself a dream, identifies himself as a man who possesses a very precious faculty, which he calls his awareness, his life. He limits what awareness beholds to the seeing of his eye and the hearing of his ear, to the presentation of his senses. He limits infinity and sees us through a glass darkly. He says, This limited awareness of mine is the activity of my mind, and here he ricochets about in his dream world, judging everything he sees, attaching value and importance to every limited appearing of the divine mind's infinitude of qualities and attributes. Well, one is never really such a man, so one should never really identify himself as such a kook. Just look around yourself right now. This very awareness that sees here and now is the divine life awareness God has of himself, of his own qualities and attributes. And just as quickly as one acknowledges this fact, accepts this fact, he automatically stops attempting to be the one who would have this awareness do things for him. Just as soon as one accepts the identity one is, he stops all of the planning and calculating and thinking, which is intended to have awareness show that old bastard exactly what that old bastard wants to see. And that one is exactly the bastard. Fatherless, hypothetical, fictitious, the means by which the real, genuine identity is made plain. The old possessor you, listen now, the old possessor you doesn't have the strength to give up his claim to awareness. Mortal mind doesn't have the strength to deny itself or to put itself off. Mortal mind cannot sacrifice himself nor put himself off. It is an impossible struggle if one attempts to do that. Honesty is the only way. The honest acknowledgement right here, right now, that God really is all is the only power necessary to overcome the old identity, the ego, because such an acknowledgement precludes the possibility of an absurd identity to put off in the first place. There is no other way which is half so final and effortless. Friends, we are talking about something very basic. We're talking about identity. As awareness, how does awareness act? Awareness is aware. Awareness knows it is the functioning and action of mind. It knows it is nothing of itself, but that mind, omnipotence, is being aware. Mind is one. Consequently, there is one awareness. This awareness is the one and only awareness of being. Awareness itself is motiveless, desireless. It is the consciousness of being. Awareness is motiveless, desirelessness, consciousness of completeness. Awareness has no responsibilities nor duties. It cannot be possessed by another, for there are no others. As awareness alone, the old concepts of mortal mind, of build, shrink from nothingness to nothingness. As awareness only, the fears and temptations, the trials and tribulations of build dry on the vine for lack of nourishment. They wither and die, and the place thereof shall know them no more. Or if they appear, they're there for a reason to be understood. As awareness, and awareness is understanding going on. As awareness totally, the I that is aware is none but God. As awareness, there is but one, and that one is perfection, being itself alone. And awareness is the knowledge of this fact. The awareness that listens to these words right now is the knowledge of that fact. And the singing in the heart this moment is the sound that says, yes, yes, this is so, this is true. God is all. God mind is this very life I am. Awareness I am. And I may rest in the center and circumference of my being. Awareness I am, and may joy in the beauty of my identity. Awareness I am, and may behold the New Jerusalem forever. Awareness I am, without desire or motive. Awareness I am, without a mission, without a purpose. Aimless, as the Oriental would say. Sweet aimless. Awareness I am, without a personal sense of self to tell my stories to. Awareness I am, without a dream to be awakened from, or a dream to dispel, and without a calling to awaken others. God is all there is to others, and God is very perfectly being what others are. This awareness has no mission to go forth and heal a perfect universe. You know, saying these things, this occurs. It comes to me to say this moment. The purpose of awareness is that God may be aware that God is the perfect one. And of course God is. That I cannot help but do, because I am awareness. Whatever it appears I do is for no reason or purpose than to declare God's handiwork under the very self I am. And reader, those words are true for you. The you I talk to is myself. The you listen to this moment, the sounds you listen to this moment are yourself. Your heart's declarations to yourself. It has to come one way or another to be understood. Well, now back to the old question of supply. How does one go about tending his home and his family and all of his obligations? Jesus, in the shortest verse in all that beautiful, lovely book of Thomas, Jesus said, become passers-by. As a passerby. As awareness who steadfastly beholds perfection. That's how we go about our family duties and obligations. As desireless, knowing the kingdom is full. As motiveless, knowing the kingdom is complete. As unpossessed, unhindered, unbound, unfettered, and boundless awareness itself. That's how we go about doing it. And we can't help it, because we are it. And after the argument between the heart and the intellect, Jesus said, after you've found, then you'll be troubled. Yes. After one hears this, it's accepted for a time, and then finally the intellect comes along to argue with it, and that's the time of trouble. But then after the trouble, then ye shall reign over the all. How else could one reign over the all except as awareness within which all things appear, in which all things are? And whose awareness is it? God's awareness. And who is the devil? Who is the old man? Who is the ego? Why, the me who says this is my awareness. Never was that so. There never was a me who said this is my awareness. It was only the belief of a me. And why the belief? In order that I might know what belieflessness is. Why the belief of a separate selfhood? That I might know the real selfhood that God is. Well, some of the talks are soft. Some are like the river that flows slowly and softly usually. Sometimes it flows turbulently to the ocean. But some talks are like thunder. Some talks are like the sound of an explosion, of a shell cracking,